It's Thursday, February the 12th, 2026. 2 days to Valentine's. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect day start of the morning brief. I'm Kaide Okikilu.
Well, am I not surprised by that introduction? Well, welcome to your perfect morning starter. A good way to kick off. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey. Bukola, look great with your braids. It's been long I saw you on braids.
It's 2 days to Valentine's.
Okay, I connect the dots
Jeffrey,
now.
I had this on yesterday, but you're just noticing.
No, Nigeria's problem was all over my head.
So yesterday was about the electoral transmission.
Yesterday was super saturated with electoral amendment matters, so I didn't notice. Now that I've noticed, and I know I've noticed that you have a new set of glasses.
Okay.
Braid. The wristwatch also looks new. God is good.
Okay, but the problems remain, right? They haven't
Just cleared a little.
particularly gone away.
Just cleared a little.
It's fine, but I look great, by the way. Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Ozaman. Guys, what's going on?
Quite a number of things. There's still a lot of controversy around Clause 63 in the Electoral Act, but that's one of several issues in Nigeria's Electoral Act that people must pay attention to. But it's only fair to describe it as a bill right now because it's going through the legislative process. So it's going to be a repeal and reenactment. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll then have the Electoral Act 2026. So again, a lot of attention has been put on electronic transmission of results, fall back to manual, even though we talked about it and it doesn't quite make sense, right? Because you do not manually upload to IREV last time we checked. I mean, that would mean, I don't know, is it writing it and pasting it on IREV and all of that? So, I mean, when you think about it, operationalize it, it doesn't quite make sense. Again, you realize that we don't use electronic transmission to collate results. It's just a viewing process, right? So that is on the one hand. There's also the notice period, which I must say a lot of people aren't exactly speaking about. The means of identification. You know, a lot of people say, why can't I just print my voter card, since it's sometimes tough to get it from INEC, particularly if you're a person with disability or you just have a chunk of things stopping you, and not to forget some of the hurdles you will face when you get there. So how about I print it myself or use one of the numerous means of official identification to vote? So nobody is disenfranchised, right? You have your passport, your NIN, you have your
BVN.
Which is also the NIN, but you also have your driver's license, right? And a lot of other official...
International passport.
Exactly, a lot of official IDs. So why can't we use that? There are also issues about punitive measures for those who engage in electoral malpractice, whether you buy votes or you buy PVCs. I don't know how you even buy people's voter cards. What are you using it for? It's not an ATM card, but we know these things, right? So those are other issues that will ensure the framework is strong. So while we pay attention to electronic transmission, we must also ensure that we pay attention to those other provisions. And on election day, we keep our eyes peeled and be a part of the process.
I'm happy you raised this issue yet again. We must not lose sight of other issues as far as this whole thing is concerned. As a matter of fact, INEC is supposed to come out with a timetable February 20th. Area council election is, I think, going to be 21st. Now, for whatever reason, I think the Senate version is the one that is compressing days and all of that. I don't know whether it's because, you know, the notoriety of post-election litigation leads credence to the distrust and in the election outcome. That's why we see all of this. So we're trying to perfect all of the records. It's not as if there will not be rigging. It's just to reduce the incident of rigging as far as it's concerned. So just to add to what Kayode said, the process of voting, first and foremost, is that number one, you electronically get accredited by the bimodal voter accreditation system. You manually vote because you cast your ballot, thumbprint. The result has to be electronically transmitted, but collation is manual. So Senate, in their proposal, is solving a non-existent problem because the BVAS doesn't require internet connectivity to capture. It only requires to transmit. So there is no problem. What happened that INEC was, even INEC's own guideline doesn't provide for alternative because INEC knows how it can manage its own. What INEC simply did is, rather than keep this as guideline and we have issues around litigation, just carry it and make it an extant law. Just give it what they call legal parenting, if you will, so that this becomes binding it's not as if it wasn't binding before, because the argument that went to court will say, oh, the guidelines are inferior laws. Do you understand? The guidelines are inferior laws, so guidelines are not extant laws. So now we want to make it an extant law. So there's no reason for any polling officer to carry the results and leave the polling unit for whatever reason to say there's no network. Snap it, capture it, whatever language you want to use. So there is no such thing as transmitting collation. Kayode has raised this. I think we need to maybe break down this language for people to understand. We will still manually collate results. PO001, PU001, PU002. We'll pack it together, go to the World Collation Center. Entries will be made into EC8B, from there EC8C, from there EC8D, from there EC8 until. So, Senate is solving a problem that is non-existent.
Indeed, and just to draw up from what you have said, Jeffrey, that it is important to remove the human element from our electoral process, especially at that critical time after voting has been concluded at 3 p.m. or depending on the time of variation of vote closure in different polling units, and then there's that counting, sorting and counting of ballots that is done, which is human element.
Yeah.
That's not the end to human element. The transportation of the results from the collated areas, from the polling units to local governments,
and then eventually
onwardly. There's a need to eliminate the human element, and that's why beyond
you can't really. The only way to, that's why we say snap it or capture it, so that when we get to the World Collation Center,
can check.
In case we have network in that place and whatever, it's not as if it's a collation anything, but just to compare, because all of us,
I was about to arrive at the summit of my point from that particular argument.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Which is why some are advocating for e-voting. If there is e-voting, all of that, yes, all of that would be totally eliminated, such that you can vote. If you can, make transfers of money from the comfort of your toilet even, then why can't you vote from the comfort of your home?
I didn't mean to laugh, because I like the ambition. No, the ambitious. If politicians can't agree just to snap and transmit physical, is it the one I'll stay in my house to vote? That is where we should be going to. As a matter of fact, I did study and I found out that what INEC has done, we're ahead of a lot of places in the world. A lot of places in the world when it comes to how we conduct. It's just that the elements within the system that are never comfortable undermining it will cause this problem. Either INEC itself or the political class that influence them.
Well, and it is the response, the cynicism with which you respond, that I believe that keeps us where we are, that makes it feel like it's impossible, and that makes the political class, continue to hold on to the manual process that encourages all forms of rigging. I mean, how many people are talking about the need for an Electoral Offences Commission as much as other critical components of the proposal in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill? Do we even need that? Because if we counted the number of electoral offenders that have been arrested during electioneering processes, we'll have quite a number. But how far have we moved from that process of arrest to prosecution, to naming and shaming the political parties behind the electoral offenses, and indeed blacklisting them from the electoral process?
I like the ambition.
We are not really ready. We don't have the political will. We haven't summoned up the political will to go ahead and entrench real-time electoral reforms for our electoral system. And we might ask, what is the ruling party? What's the ruling party afraid of? After all, it has a quantum of, the states, the structure that is required for electoral
victory. Now they'll say you're fighting the ruling party, because it's not only the ruling.
It's really about the ruling party if we must be forthright and honest with ourselves, because the National Assembly has the dominance.
They are dominant.
Exactly.
So this may be illegal, but it's just to find a meeting point at the end of the day. What the people who are proposing, a lot of Nigerians are proposing for this electronic that Kayode, we talked yesterday, and his explainers was really good as far as transmission and collation. It's good. There are two different things. Is that we want to see how much we can minimize rigging. Rigging will still happen. So what is going on? What we're trying to achieve now as a nation is to make sure that if you can rig at the polling unit, your ability to rig from there will be significantly reduced. We've seen shenanigans, Bukola, where people have changed results. People have adjusted from 21 turns to 321, and all kinds of funny things that happen. There's another element we don't look at, which used to happen. These same politicians argued against it. Do you know that in the initial design of the IRE portal, you know, when you go to IRE portal, you see all of the things. The next thing you see is also the fact that you see the result sheet of polling units. You're supposed to also see used to be, I think, a green line where it says the number of accredited voters beyond what is written. That electronically, Beavers captures is not what you wrote alone. So you have, because it's two-factor authentication. So what is written there? 400 accredited voters. Electronically, on that same IREV, you see that it was 400. So that
Absolutely.
If we go and see 400 on IREV, and
then
we
you
see in the
500
paper,
on
500, we know there's foul play.
Yeah, exactly.
But they fought it because technology delays. This maybe by the time the result arrives, the other one has not arrived, it will cause problem discrepancy. Anyway, where I was going to, guys, I want to show you guys something before we move on. So there's been an argument about who is supporting who. So if my producer can put up my slide, that there's something I want to speak to. Maybe we can douse the tension, because right now certain persons have been vilified for who they support. Oh, this is hanging, by the way. So, fantastic. His name is Arik Air. There's a brand strategist. I was watching a video some time ago where ahead of the last election, where he talked about the reasons why people vote. I mentioned this before. He said tribe, ethnic interest, religion, sacred persuasion, party, blah, 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 blah. Obi Kubana and what's his name? A Kubana chief priest have been getting the fires as far as supporting Bola Tinubu is concerned. So I decided to bring this to show Nigerians that these are some of the major reasons why people support a candidate, and is their exclusive preserve who they want to support. So you can pick from here to know why Kubana and anybody and XYZ will be supporting anybody. So it's up to you to decide for yourself. What you can do as a citizen is, if you don't like their action, mobilize your own end as well. It's about democracy, and make sure everybody votes. So I hope I've settled this quarrel in my own little corner.
But who's quarreling?
No, you need to know what's going on online. Kyle is all online.
And we could do an analysis of, you know, each item on these reasons why
These are the different reasons. According to Arik Air, that people
tribe and religion are closely related, and he speaks to our north-south dichotomy, which, you know, reflects the political landscape each electioneering cycle, particularly during the presidential election. And so that's why politicians would, a few months from now, begin to highlight our fault lines, you know, and begin to run away from real-time conversations that affect that affect issues. You know, we can't forget in a hurry, you know, some events that shaped the presidential elections, which I don't want to recall now. So maybe when the cameras drop. Political party interests. We've seen the re-registration drive of some political parties, and that is going to inform voting ahead of 2027. So
at the end of the day,
stomach infrastructure is self-explanatory.
Well, I didn't put it for us to explain. Let the people. Where I'm going to is the fact that business, people could just be supporting a candidate. Have you ever seen Dangote support anybody outright? But it's always, you know, every government.
That goes to the political elite. It would be interesting to find out how the elites, not necessarily the political elite, how they vote during elections. And I'm talking about the captains of industry. So what informs their voting? So we could go through all of the items, but how do you vote?
It's up to you now.
Based on this list.
You have the floor. We've been talking.
I just say the game is the game.
The game is the game.
It is what it is. But I'm just thinking, as you guys were speaking, I was thinking, with the rate at which AI, forgive me, right? The way I connect things quite different. And I'm looking at how AI is exponentially growing. I mean, with AI now, I'm building an app, AI is testing it. There's an article I think everybody should read about how AI is growing so fast. So you could build an app just right there, iterate with AI without you doing anything, and you come up with the best version, and it keeps updating it for you. I'm just thinking, how can we use it to improve governance in Nigeria? I just put all of the candidates, and I do like a regression analysis with AI and say, based on their antecedents and what they have done, which is the best fit for the job? what is it that we should be looking at? I think that's another conversation we should be having, but forgive me, I think divergent sometimes. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll show you how the front pages are reporting the big stories. It's not AI, it's real. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's still your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television, and it's time to dive into the daily. So how are they reporting the big events? And joining us on this segment for today, the Thursday edition, is Mr. Ambrose Igboke, Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter. He joins us virtually from Enugu State. Mr. Igboke, good morning. It's good to see you again. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. With all the things happening in Nigeria, it looks like we have seen each other since last year.
Yeah, right. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's start with this, Nigeria, and it's an interesting one. It's also about elections. Listen to this, 2027, Makinde lobbying to be Atiku's running mate, says Fayose, alleges Oyo governor pledged 10 billion naira to be on ticket at Mina meeting with Atiku IBB. And of course, we've been seeing quite a lot of alignments and realignments and meetings in the last couple of weeks. This is a reference to the last meeting that the ADC chief helmsman now had with the former military president. And so this is coming out. I wonder how, the information of what really transpired is coming through. But can we rely on this as authentic information?
This reminds, your question takes me back to the 90s when during the Provisional Ruling Council of General Abacha, when the meeting will be held, top secret meeting among the top echelons of the Provisional Ruling Council. And Tell Magazine will find a way of, it's stating what transpired in the meeting. So, to answer your question, we can take it as authentic unless ADC comes to, debunk it. And we also know that just as the military and intels have their own intel, the journalists have their own intel too. And they have sympathizers, even at the highest level of government or at the highest level of discussion that you think might have happened anywhere. So I don't know, each time opposition come or political people come, they want to recruit IBB each time. I don't know the reason for that, why they want to recruit IBB. I think they should allow the man rest. He's an old man. Is fighting his own health issues, and I think these people should just allow him to rest. So all these things we go out every time to talk about to disturb the old man in Mina. I think we should be able to just phantom our own way. Going to IBB to validate your options and all those things is just the usual routine for most political parties that we have been having since 1999. Whether something will come out of it still remains to be seen. But ADC itself has a lot of people who have so many ambitions, and most of them have tall ambitions. For Makinde, I don't know the game is trying to play to be a vice presidential candidate. That was what the game Dr. Okowa played in the 2023 election, where he became vice president to Atiku. And right now we are hearing about malfeasance and issues of 100 billion naira of state money being donated. That has not still cleared. And we are hearing that Makinde wants to donate 20 billion. 20 billion naira of whose money? Is this his personal money? How did he come about such wealth, just being governor for how many years? Is it the money of the Oyo state people that he wants to give to an individual, just like what happened in Delta? So I think Oyo people should rise and begin to investigate this and begin to make the necessary noise to interrogate the governor, because this is getting out of hand.
Mr. Igboke, we were not in that meeting, so we don't know. I think this disclosure was made by Ayodele Fayose. who looks like to me is, whether he's been assigned or is taking up the responsibility or wish of his dropping into private conversation. He was the one that told us about what the president and Mr. Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, discussed. It's also supposed to be a private meeting, but for some reason, Fayose found his way into the meeting and gave us the scoop. I don't know. He's the same person now that IBB met with Makinde. He's the one that's giving us the... So I don't know whether all this is so... For me, I'll just take it at face value. We don't know what's going on. At least the men who were in the meeting did not speak. So it doesn't mean it may be true, it may not be true. But I'm just saying... You have
to remember grapevine in journalism.
Yeah, I do. No problem. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper. Guardian newspaper leads with not the Christ 2027 politics despite insecurity, 4,654 deaths in 2025. I don't think I need to add anything. This has been a recurrent decimal, and the people at the Guardian do a great job of giving us the incident reports, whether it's abduction or kidnapping or whatever name you want to call it, or literal killing. And what do you think the North is saying with this?
No, the greatest danger about this is that we are not at war. No, if these were war casualties, that maybe we are at war, or that Nigeria is fighting with another country, we are being bombarded, just like what happened in Gaza, or what is happening in Sudan, or what happened in Ukraine and some other parts of, maybe some parts of Syria, and we could just say, oh, these are casualties of war. But I don't know how to explain the fact that Nigeria is not at war with any other country. Nigeria is not even at war, a fratricidal war like what we had between 1967 and 1970. Nigeria is not said to be at war. And yet we're having these levels of casualties, of citizens being murdered, being massacred in droves, in high numbers. So this is so sad. And when people start, questioning the United States President Donald Trump by saying that this is genocide, then people start talking about ethnicity, religion, and the rest. But the Nigerian citizens have been killed in this number. It's a genocide, because this is massive, and any government should be worried that that this kind of number of deaths of its citizens is happening, and they are claiming to be in charge. How can you be in charge and your citizens are being killed by extremist terrorists everywhere? So the government should wake up, do its job, which is the primary duty of protecting the citizens for security and giving them welfare. Every other thing is cosmetic, and in addition to that, those two primary responsibilities. A government that, these kind of things are things that, because there's no citizen charter between the president and the people, except through the constitution. So they come, dance around. Very soon we'll see people now waving sticks, brooms, umbrellas, all kinds of paraphernalia. Elections will start, there will be dancing, there will be drumming, they will promise heaven and earth, and that ends it. There's no citizen charter. Some people deny that manifesto at the end of the day. Yet the citizens somehow are comfortable with this, and we go at length to defend some of these politicians. It is a sad reality in Nigeria.
Okay, let's switch from there and move on to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And this one is quite huge, Mr. Igboke. U.S. reps propose visa ban on Kwankwaso, Mieti Allah, others, as U.S. lawmakers present bill on Christian religious persecution in Nigeria, seek terrorist designation for Fulani militias. But Kwankwaso movement says we're shocked. We'll respond at the appropriate time, while the NNPP says Kwankwaso caught in web of international hypocrisy and blackmail. It looks like at this rate, the U.S. House of Reps is doing a lot more for Nigerians when it comes to security or terrorism than even its own lawmakers, some will say. Because I can tell you this, Mr. Igboke, some people now know about Representative Riley Moore they probably don't even know their own representative, but they know him. So what do you make of this? Is this something to take seriously because they're proposing asset freeze and all of that?
If you remember some time ago, last month on this show, I proposed that some of the this visa ban was not enough. That for this perceived sponsors of terrorism, that if you give visa ban, they can go to any other country of their choice. There are so many destinations, and I proposed that there should be asset freezing everywhere, and that is exactly what the government of the United States have done. You need to hit people below the belt where it really hurts them. You need to freeze their access to financing and ability to move money. That is the issue. If you don't do that, then there's trouble. So, US has its own intel. They have their own ways of doing things. They do not rely on whatever we are doing. They have more sophistication about these things. So I don't think that by whims or by any design of, let me call it on seriousness, America will not do that. So they may have their facts, they may have their intel, they may have their, submissions, and these people monitor transactions as they move. I mean, they are the ones that made your cell phones. They are the ones that use to make your app. They are the ones that have all these things we are using, all these gadgets. They have the back end there. So they can easily track whatever you are doing. So I don't think it should not be dismissed by the wave of the hand. I mean, Nigerians should not say, okay, can we see more concrete evidence against these individuals, and then we can now start to, begin to interrogate it. But it is not enough to just dismiss these things. Say, oh, it is witch hunt, it is that. No, it is not true.
Oof.
Well, let's get to Daily Independent now, which of course has not relented on the conversation on our electoral process, and it's expanding on the implications of what this delay means for the next electioneering cycle. Listen to this one. Legal experts warn of structural cracks ahead of 2027 elections, and it's quite instructive. We don't know what this expanded bipartisan conference committee would approve. Would it be the House of Reps version of the Electoral Act Amendment 2026, or would it be the Senate's version? But either way, we're still looking at either 360 days to giving INEC notice for the release of timetable, or if there's a change, 180 days. What would this mean for the different critical aspects of election organization, which is a very, very all-encompassing process?
Well, I think the 360 days should still be retained. I don't know why the Senate wanted to tamper with that in the first place. Where they were supposed to work, they didn't work. Where they were supposed to improve, they didn't improve. But they went to a place, the one that is working, and decided to tie it up. This Senate is purposefully, they know what they are doing. They are just throwing confusion into the mix so that they can get their way. Even after so much pressure, they still refuse to do the electronic vote, electronic transfer of results, transmission of results real time. They still refuse to do that. So that is how you can see that the Senate is taking Nigerians for granted. The Senate is intolerant of improving democracy. But with this, we are still talking about how the court cases, how elections can be held earlier, maybe 6 months before handing over, so that all the court cases can take place. So these are the places we are heading to, and somebody is trying to restrict INEC, to railroad INEC into a marathon exercise. This is not fair. And the House of Reps should shoot this down, and the civil society should not stop the protests. Be it by writing, by advocacy, even by protest. Because protests are legitimate instruments in democracy. By doing this, I think the reactions of last week jolted the Senate, because they didn't believe that they will have those kind of reaction, and they have to reconvene. They have to convene in an emergency sitting. That shows that when Nigerians apply pressure to some of this shenanigans happening at that level, and they will be jotted back and do something. So it's not yet Uhuru, it's not over. Nigerians should still keep up the pressure to ensure that a harmonized bill is that which ensures that there's transmission of results real time. I know people have, spoken a lot about how can the Senate president, in all sense of duty, say that 9 states in Nigeria don't have internet. I mean, these are ridiculous statements that one begins to beg or believe. We have online transmissions of banks are running online real time. The banks are in every state. We have all the telecoms in every state. We have POS machine operators doing their businesses in every corner of the country. These people are using internet. We have the ruling party even doing e-registration and making all the noise about it. Yet, the Senate president from the ruling party who has embraced e-registration of members is saying that there's no network. Meanwhile, this machine, even the beavers, makes have made an adequate arrangement for those kind of situations where the beavers can store offline, and when it comes to a place where there's network, it will automatically upload. So who is afraid of e-time electronic transmission? So what we can do, some people already proposing that if there is no network to upload or whatever, and it cannot be uploaded that day or something happen, that instead of resorting to manual collation, that elections can be repeated that day. So instead of that, INEC could be looking at modalities of how to do that, or other options can come up. But giving room for manual manipulation or manual entry will lead to the same problem we had in the 2023 election. I think we should be moving forward. And this is a clear call to the House of Reps to ensure that this online real-time transmission is there, preparation taken back to 360 days, and to ensure that our elections get strengthened. We move from 2022 Electoral Act. Let us improve 2022 Electoral Act, not to take us back beyond what we have before 2022.
Well, I thought we had more papers, but that will be where we drop the anchor on the edition of Newspaper Review segment today. We must anchor at this point. Thank you so much. Mr. Ambrose Igboke is the Director, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst, Enugu State Chapter. Thank you for coming on the segment.
Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll begin the first leg of our conversation, which is something very critical, impacting on security in Ebonyi State. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
So let's show you some of the big talking points from yesterday, particularly at the Senate. But just before we get to that, a major mishap was averted in our skies yesterday. And I tell you this, if you were in that flight, or you've ever been in a flight, or you've ever witnessed something remotely close to this, that you'd understand how big a deal this is. So yesterday, an Arik Air Boeing 737-700 operating flight W3740 from Lagos to Port Harcourt made an emergency diversion to Benin Airport after experiencing a mid-air engine issue. There you see the engine there literally stripped of the covering. First of all, you have to respect the person recording the video for keeping still and steady while recording the video, but more importantly, you have to respect the crew on board that aircraft, the pilots, for doing a great job landing this plane without any major incident. Because, it was during the flight's descent into Port Harcourt that I heard a loud bang from the left engine. The pilots followed safety protocols, as you can see, and they eventually landed at the nearest suitable airport, which was the Benin Airport. All of the passengers and crew on board disembarked safely with no reported injuries. Jeffrey, this is a major one.
If you were on this aircraft, that God is in heaven and we are men on earth, and somewhere you're caught in between the skies and the land, and you can't wait to land. But we're grateful to to God that nothing happened, because whoever was filming this is very courageous, super courageous. And again, like you said, kudos to the crew for maintaining maybe a steady head. I'm sure they kept assuring the people in the aircraft to say, look, yes, the aircraft is designed in such a way that when these things happen, it's still possible for us to land safely. I've been there in an aircraft for a journey of maybe 45 minutes. We stayed in the air maybe for another 2 hours, just hovering, because the pilot could not see as far as he's supposed to see. He spoke to us the first time, spoke to us the second time, and did not speak to us again till we landed. And that moment of silence, the anxiety in that aircraft was great. So we're grateful that this ended successful. Nobody was hurt, just the spark of the aircraft. I think besides this wings, or this engine on the wing, there's something that happened, I think, at the tail area as well. This airline, I don't think they've ever had any incidents since their history, to the best of my knowledge. So kudos to them for maintaining whatever professionalism that was used here, because this is more of psychological warfare than anything. So, but we will eventually get to hear what happened, what went wrong. Was this preventable in the first place? Was there someone who overlooked that this could have happened, or this was just something that was totally unavoidable? Because look at that blowout. Literally blew off that place, and I can imagine the sound, the bang, mid-air. First you think an anti-aircraft missile hit the aircraft. All kinds of things will be hitting your brain.
Your mind, right?
It's just, but at the end of the day, we're grateful that this ended not in a bad place, and not a bad ending at all.
Absolutely. So the NSIB, that's the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, has commenced an investigation into that Arik Air Boeing 737 registration, actually 5NMJF, and it's expected that a preliminary assessment will be released within 30 days in accordance with ICAO Annex 13 provisions. But I can tell you, the passengers on board the aircraft will be telling the testimony for days and weeks, maybe even months to come. We know that Arik Air has had its fair share of issues regarding management, receivership, and the rest. So it's important that this is handled well, and we'll be looking at NSIB to get the report of it and know what exactly played out. And as always, the reason I love the aviation industry is how they learn, and they keep learning from incidents. It's almost like a non-stop learning process. So this is also another learning moment for the aviation industry, particularly in Nigeria. But with the aviation industry, aviation travel is said to be one of the safest in the world, in spite of some of those things that we see. So happy ending, you can call it, and we wish them the very best from here henceforth.
So do we have the other one? Okay, I think let's take a look at what video do we look at now, Kaide? I think maybe we'll look
Let's
at
go to the Senate, where we understand that there was some tension yesterday during the defense for the budget of the defense budget, so to speak, between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the chairman Senate committee overseeing the ministry. That would be Senator Patrick Ndubeze. Let's see what transpired actually.
Please, it's very important.
When we come for investigative
no, Honorable Minister, please, I'd like to say this.
Mr. Minister...
No, please, do not hit the gavel. I still have something to say, and I think you should respect me enough. Please don't do that.
I've given you respect.
No, that's not it.
Mr. Minister, your time
Mr. Chairman.
is up. Thank you.
Then that's fine.
You have to wait.
I think you disrespected me more than enough.
No.
No, you can't do this to me. You can't. You spoke to me enough to allow me to speak. I have something very vital to interface with the minister. And it doesn't matter if I've spoken once or twice. This is an interactive session. And you agree that we have not met with the minister enough. Only God knows when next we are going to meet with him as a committee.
So that particular defense session, just put it in context, was with the Minister of Steel Development, Prince Audu. And, there'd been a lot of back and forth.
But
you understand, right?
Abubakar,
Yes, yes.
the one from Kogi State.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of back and forth, but you understand that under his purview is the Ajaokuta Steel Company, which is a touchy issue for both of them. Kogi State, obviously. So she wanted to speak more about it, according to her.
Because she has a lot of understanding of the...
Absolutely, and ask more questions. But for the chairman, Senator Wabweze, well, he said, we can keep this for investigative hearing, right? That was what he said. He said, well, we've spent a lot of time on this already. But, you know, Senator Natasha Potidora, I said, we don't know when next we'll see the minister. And we can't say we can't talk about these things well enough. And that's why you have the back and forth. And eventually when he hit the gavel, she was like, oh, that's fine. There's no point staying back here. Let's just call it a day. But different interpretations given to this. You can see the minister just walking out silently like, okay, I may have dodged the bullet, but I bet you next time
I'm sure they'll... Bukola, go ahead.
Okay, you go ahead, Jeffrey.
I'm sure they'll find a way to reconcile. You know, hearing sessions are always very heated. In fact, there has been 3 heated sessions so far.
We'll get to the other
We'll get to the hearing session. So this is how it's supposed to be. Hearings are not, we're not coming to share ice cream here. We're coming to ask questions because you're coming with a budget for a ministry to say, based on the federal government allocation of spending limits across MDAs, across ministries, this is what I intend to spend the public money on. So these are representatives of the people at the Senate, and they should be asking you very tough questions. But it's unfortunate that the argument is now between 2 people who are supposed to be asking the person who is seated, who is the minister. But as you said, I think, I don't know how much, I didn't watch a full session. I don't know how many times she spoke. Maybe there's a timeline to some of these things, because she even admitted to the fact that it doesn't matter how many times she's spoken, that she has something important to say, but maybe the chairman of the committee has insisted that, look, and he has the power to stop the hearing anytime, and I think he should be respected for his position. There's other ways to resolve some of these issues, but, you know, maybe she just wanted to air her view and say, look, whatever I wanted to say, this man did not allow me to say, but I take it in good faith. Bukola?
Well, it does show that, you know, it's symptomatic of the tensions that are still evident in the Senate, especially, you know, since the episode with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Addo. For me, I was worried about how relations would be henceforth, particularly since we exited the sexual harassment episode, how relations would be between her and her colleagues. I wonder if this has anything to do with that, but let's leave that at the you know, level of projections and not make a conclusion about that. But every senator, male or female, whether you're a member of a committee, you're a deputy chairman of a committee, you're a chairman of a committee, every senator every lawmaker indeed has a right to expression because they have the responsibility of due diligence in the ministries that they're oversighting. And so they bring their own professional expertise to bear. They bring their own findings to bear upon every hearing. And what they have discovered, or the interrogations that they have to offer for each particular session for a budget defense or any hearing at that, is important to the work of that committee, to the outcome of that committee, and to the scrutiny that needs to be brought to bear upon that particular ministry. So when there is repression, you know, many are want to give it a lot of interpretations. Is it patriarchy at work in this male-dominated Senate, where a woman is not being given, a female senator is not being given the right and the opportunity to express themselves? And so, you know, there must be more caution, more sensitivity deployed in relations in both chambers of the National Assembly, and I believe this extends to all other institutions in public parastatals.
But the issues still remain with the Ajaokuta Steel Company, the MOUs, what the state of that infrastructure is right now. So while we can talk about the back and forth, we must not lose sight of the issues. What is going on with the Ajaokuta Steel Company? What is the state of the MOUs? Are we making the most of it? Is there some corruption happening? Those are the issues, and they must not be swept under the carpet. But, you know, the Senate saw its fair share of, well, I must say, shouting matches yesterday, and this one,
in Nigeria, call it Basbos.
The Basbos, right? This one was during the defense of a budget of a Minister of Works. You can call him Senator Dave Umahi, right? Was a senator, but eventually had to take for a few months and had to take up the calling as a minister. So two sets, we must tell you, one between him and Senator Adams Oshiomhole, and then between Senator Ebonyi and Senator Rufai Hanga representing Kano Central. So let's allow you to listen first to the one between Senator Adams Oshiomhole and the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, where he was saying, do not use foul language on me, take it easy on me. It was, I don't know if to call it needless back and forth, but it's not what you expect from distinguished senators.
That's it. So are you judging language on me?
No.
I'm a distinguished Nigerian. You don't use foul language on me, please. Distraction.
Honorable sir, please, no, excuse me, mind your language, please.
No.
You were in this Senate, excuse me, sir.
For how long? 2 months.
You were in this Senate,
Just 2
you mind your language. You are addressing a senator.
2 months, senator.
Mind your
So,
language.
that said,
There's 2 months, senator.
Chairman,
So I think it's this one has to do with language. The other one has to do with not being allowed to maybe air last thoughts.
This is us trying to just help them explain and give a term to go on.
So this one is an issue of language, and there's that back and forth. Ego is in the room. Umahi was a governor, Oshiomhole was a governor. Umahi was even though his senatorship, allow me to say, was very short. I think he was even a principal officer at some point in that Senate, and then he's now a minister. So in terms of achievement politically, I think the only high he has above Umahi is that he was an APC national chairman, which Umahi hasn't been. So sometimes that ego clash and all of that, I think the issue was about language, but later they resorted and began to speak to themselves in a more civil manner, because I saw that Oshiomhole was now addressing him as sir and asking very tough questions, where he was also responding to commit even his own career on the line, that if I think Abuja Kaduna, I think Kano Road is not done, okay, if he fails quality test, then he's going to resign. So, but sometimes these things are good. It shows that our lawmakers may be working, asking the right questions, some not asking the right questions, some is just an ego clash at the end of the day. So I feel that lawmakers and journalists have similar jobs. Nobody who is in government, not because we are enemies of anybody, because you are managing Commonwealth. If you're managing Commonwealth from the president down to a councillor, if you sit with a journalist, if you sit with a lawmaker, you should be worried about that conversation, and you should come prepared. Because even if you were Aliko Dangote before and you became president, now that was your money. Now this is our money. You will explain.
Well, whatever the case is, Kari, as you would say, it all bothers on good governance. At the end of the day, are the people getting the requisite service that they employed the political elite for? And we could ask, what's happening to the many infrastructure projects under the purview of that ministry? There are many defective bridges, many defective portions of major highways. The other day I was watching a video of possible flooding of the brand new Lagos-Calabar coastal road. What's happening to the, pending completion of the East-West Road, many federal roads in the South region. Let's ask those questions as well. We were watching a budget defense for the Ministry of Steel Development just moments ago. What's happening to the Ajaokuta Steel Company? So many promises made about the revival of that very critical age-long infrastructure. Will it see the light of day under this administration? Those are the questions that we should be asking, and looking beyond the fireworks, the many sessions of budget defense of the ministries. Guys.
And I think at this point, maybe the president should give an order to, because sometimes it looks like until he speaks, some of these ministers will not show up. We have about 48, right? 48 ministers. I don't know whether any of us seated here can name up to 20 maybe let me extend that number to 25. It's not about being popular in the media. It's about knowing what some of them are even doing. Some of them, I don't think they are helping this president. The president has a lot of heat on his, fire to his feet already in terms of security, in terms of the economy. He has some things he's done well. There are some things they've terribly performed very poorly at. And this is the president overseeing all of them. So different ministers will be able to take charge in different ministries. So some ministers, as I always say, you don't know whether they're really doing anything. Some may be doing something we don't know. But given our role as media people, as journalists, it's important at least we know what you're doing. It's not your family business. You cannot be doing things in private. We need to know exactly what you're doing. What am I saying by extension is that maybe it's time for the president to begin to look at how he will remove some people. In fact, our ministers list, they are too long. We are not as much as America. Our economy is nowhere close to America. But because of federal character issues, we have so many people managing, minister of state, all kinds of nomenclature to describe people. So some of these ministers, you really don't know what they are doing. You don't even know their name. There are ministers I should know the name of every minister, but I have to go to the portal.
To the list, right?
To check because of how inactive, I don't want to use the word inefficient, they are. Because they may be doing something we do not know. So it's important. So these are the opportunities we have to see some ministers. Oh, you're the one in charge of this. Okay, what exactly is going on in your ministry? Some ministers of state, I'm sorry, sometimes they look like appendages. I'm sorry. That is what it feels like. It may be wrong. Because it looks like when the substantive or whatever minister they call it takes charge, that one is just sit down looking in Nigeria's parlance. So these people were paid, they are being paid with our money, so it's important they account for the things they are doing so that we as a people will say, okay, this one did well, this one didn't do well. Mr. President is trying to kick out some of these guys so that we have people that are serious to help you achieve your agenda.
And that's what it's all about, really, democracy. If you are not for the people, by the people, or of the people, then please step aside. Let those who want to do it for the people take charge. We have more to show you, major talking points. So we'll take a moment now. When we return, the move by the U.S. Congress designating certain people as what? Terrorists linked? What exactly is that all about? Because the NNPP leader, Sir Kwankwaso's name, sticks out as well as other groups. So stay with us. I'll be speaking with legal practitioner Ekemini Udim on that. We'll be right back.
Let's bring in a lawyer, legal practitioner, Mr. Ekemini Udim, to weigh in on the matter. Mr. Udim, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the United States has been busy with Nigeria since the incident of the Christian genocide that they hold on to, which the government has worked so hard to counter time and again. And we've seen that has culminated in things like sometimes more killings have happened, the U.S. bombing somewhere in Sokoto, some trips for lobbying, the president's wife in America at a breakfast meeting with Donald Trump, commended by Donald Trump for being a respected person. We can go, there are different shades to it. But the U.S. seemed to keep the pressure on, believing that maybe something is being done, but not enough is being done. And now they're going on with the issue of, will you call it blacklisting in this sense? And we now saw the name of Kwankwaso, the governor of, or former governor rather, of Kano State. In fact, I saw somebody posted and talked about the issue of Sharia law is why his name got into that space in the first place. I've also seen some members of the ruling party also speaking for him, saying, look, this is not the time to let him to be listed on this, because they're talking about asset freezing, sanctions and all of that. But what do you make as an interpretation? Because it's the biggest name that has been obviously listed. There's Miyetti Allah, there are other people that we may not know. But what do you make of this?
Well, I have seen the bill that has been placed before the United States House of Representatives, which talks about religious freedom and accountability in Nigeria. And it is part of that conversation about what's going on in Nigeria, the persecution of Christians and the persecution of religious minorities in the country. And it has now been placed before the House of Representatives. And a recommendation has been made for the Secretary of State to declare some persons and some organizations as terrorist organizations and as persons sponsoring terrorism. And that's how the name of the former governor of Kano State, Kwankwaso, came in. I have seen his name here in the documents that is before the U.S. House of Representatives. For me, as a Nigerian citizen, any effort that is intended to end the cycle of violence in the country is acceptable and welcomed by citizens of the country, because we have seen what's going on in the last couple of months. In fact, running into years now, where worshippers have been killed in their places of worship, and where people have been also killed in their houses and so on, Christians and Muslims alike. And therefore, every effort that is intended to stop this cycle of violence is highly welcome. However, I'm surprised to see the name of the former governor of Kano State here, Kwankwaso. I am very surprised about it, because I've not really heard his name being bandied around terrorism, being bandied around sponsorship of groups that do evil to society. So I am very surprised to have this. I do hope that the American Congress is going to provide some more clarification to the wider public as to the involvement, if any, of Kwankwaso. How did his name get into that accusation? How did his name get into the point of asking the Secretary of State to declare, him as a sponsor of terrorist activities in Nigeria? Like what you ask about what I make of it, I am particularly surprised about the name of Kwankwaso in that list. But maybe America has better information that Nigeria has not had over the years. Maybe America is able to monitor activities of the former governor and former minister. Then I think that there is need to make it clearer for all of us in Nigeria to understand exactly this level of participation.
We do not know exactly where his name is listed, but I saw a story sometime, I think early 2000, where some things were listed, but we will leave that to the American government to be able to disclose to us exactly why his name is on that list. But generally, what do you think this means by extension? When you are listed and you're sanctioned and asset freeze, how much will that impact in terms of the ability to be able to curb? Because at the end of the day, if all of these things are done, is found guilty or not guilty, whatever measure is being taken, and people are being killed, so it's going to be counterproductive.
Well, when people are named like this, the impact is big on them, because you cannot travel to America, you cannot travel to some other countries that you normally travel to, and the assets you have in those countries can be frozen. In other words, you are being blacklisted internationally, and it's a serious dent on the image of anybody. And you know very well that Kwankwaso is someone that is still politically very active in Nigeria. He still wants to be president of Nigeria, going by the last election. I do not know if he's still going to present himself to the electorate in the 2027 election, but he's still very politically active. And a report of this nature, an indictment of this nature, will be a very serious blow to his political career, and will also be a serious blow to the Kwankwaso movement, because you know that he is the arrowhead of the Kwankwaso movement. I think that the former governor and the former minister can on his own come clean, address the media, and then tell Nigerian citizens that he is also surprised, if he is, about the inclusion of his name there. and then let Nigerian citizens to see clearly that he hasn't sponsored any terrorist group, he hasn't sponsored any group to decimate Christians or to decimate Muslim minorities in some parts of the country. He needs to do all of that, perhaps, and whereas we support any efforts by the American government, by American legislators to blacklist anybody that sponsors terrorism, as a lawyer, I would also say, let it be done carefully. Let it be that all the facts are there, because every citizen of the world has fundamental rights duly guaranteed him or her in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the right to a good name is there. The African Charter also talks about the right to a good name, the right to be given the opportunity to express yourself when you are accused of any allegation. So I just hope that the American Congress understands this fact and then accords that right of explanation to Rabiu Kwankwaso, and also confronts him with what you think you have against him, because like I said, he has a right to a good name, but if he has not kept the good name intact, then you have the right to name and shame him, but there should be the facts to support the allegations against him.
This is almost like I call it a ricochet now, because the Senate had come up with a bill last year, the bill that required the Secretary of State to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern, to impose certain sanctions and for other purposes. That was last year, the bill S2747 by the U.S. Congress, the Senate. So this year we're now seeing the House of Reps through Representative Riley Moore and I think 4 other colleagues with this bill, another bill this time around, that now has names according to what we hear. If you check the representatives' website, you see like a summary of this. It didn't quite put the names in the summary, but that's also what's been reported on the floor. And I wonder for you how this places our own lawmakers in that sense, because it's been said that some people now even focus more on the U.S. Congress proceedings when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria, that they focus on Nigeria's National Assembly in that sense. So in what light does this cast our own lawmakers? For you, that is.
When you read the bill that has been presented before the House of Representatives, and where Kwankwaso's name has been mentioned, you see that the legislators in America have taken time to give one by one account, of a lot of things that have happened in this country. You see there, you see the lady that was stoned in Sokoto State in that school. You see her name is there. You see the gentleman that defended himself in a farm against the attack by a header, and he was convicted, and their conviction was upheld up to the Supreme Court and was only pardoned in December 2025. All of that have been stated here. Water, all of that, you see that there. And you get this feeling about how would people from outside Nigeria be more particular and more interested about ending the cycle of violence in Nigeria. And yet in Nigeria, what you see our legislators mostly do is denial. Nothing is not happening. You hear, you watch rancorous sessions in legislature. People are not agreeing to the fact that these things are happening and all of that. So I think that the Nigerian legislators should wake up to this same reality. It's happening almost every day. You see what happened, you saw what happened in Kwara State a few days ago. All over the country, you hear cases of this and that, people being killed, and so on. Benue has been a killing field, and our legislators are not talking as much as the legislators in America are talking. They're not as concerned, by their actions the same way the people outside Nigeria are saying. And I think that we should take charge as a country. We should be at the helm of the narrative. We should be at the helm of doing everything humanly possible to stop this. If we have to make laws, if we have to review our laws, it should come from Nigeria. For me, it's a shame when I see that others outside Nigeria are the ones that are even more concerned and taking concerted efforts, towards eliminating what's going on in the country. We should be the ones doing that. Our legislators should be the ones, presenting bills of this nature to the House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and the Senate. But what you see is that the other time you saw United Arab Emirates sending names to Nigeria and saying these are the persons that we suspect. Okay, we have evidence of this person sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. And what has Nigeria done with that list? I doubt if anybody has even been taken to court, or any pronouncement being made against the person by the Nigerian government. I think this laxity is not helping the fight against the destruction of human lives in the country. And I think that the legislature in Nigeria should also wake up like their counterparts in the US are doing.
Well, indeed, it's a discomforting irony to note that the Nigerian Religious Freedom and Accountability Act 2026 doesn't originate from the hallowed chambers of Nigeria's National Assembly, but from the US Congress. And it's also reminiscent of the alarm being raised consistently by a certain US missionary who is helping to rebuild Yawata, who is fingering a particular group for being responsible for the attacks in northern Nigeria. And now if we amplified that now, it would be misconstrued. But to double down on my colleague's question, is it a challenge that, the heterogeneous outlook of Nigeria's National Assembly is a problem, for anyone, perhaps in the North Central, where the killings, the targeted killings occur the most, to advance a cause like this one, or to scale through in the first place any legislation? The fact that predominantly we have more legislators from the North cumulatively than those from the South or the North Central part, where these issues, are predominant?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. Nigeria has been heterogeneous right from 1914, when Lord Frederick Lugard merged the North and the South together without minding our dissimilarities, as a people. But what we need to do as a people is to manage that dissimilarities that we have, the heterogeneous state of affairs in Nigeria. But when you watch the National Assembly in Nigeria, you get to see that divide, that heterogeneity, existing between the members of the House of Representatives and members of the Senate. Not many persons want to agree on a particular thing, no matter how nationalistic, that idea might be. And I think that is a serious problem for Nigeria. We should be able to marry all of these and be able to speak in the national interest at all times without necessarily, clinging so much to where we come from as members of the legislature.
Okay, so I'm reading a copy of this that is available online, and you see Part 7 says the Department of State and Department of Treasury should impose targeted sanctions, including visa bans, asset freezes under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act on individuals or entities responsible for severe religious freedom violations, or report to Congress the reasons such sanctions have not been imposed, including Fulani ethnic nomad militias in Nigeria, Robi Musa Kwankwaso, former Kano State Governor, Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, and Mieti Allah Cattle Ori. And it goes on to say the Secretary of State shall determine whether certain Fulani ethnic militias in Nigeria qualify as a foreign terrorist organization under Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and says individuals and networks, domestic or foreign, that provide support to these Fulani ethnic militias should be investigated and held accountable. And of course it goes on and on, talking about even partnering with countries including France, Hungary, the United Kingdom to work with the government of Nigeria to promote religious freedom and peace. If we have Mr. Udim back, these are some of the details from the proposed bill. And some are saying that maybe there should be other names on this list as well. Maybe it might be an eye-opener for Nigeria and Nigerians in that sense. Is that the sentiment you support?
Well, it's the kind of sentiments to support because it's Nigerian citizens will tell you that it's not only the name of Rabbi Kwankwaso that should be on that list. Even like I said, I'm very surprised about that name. There are many other persons that Nigerian citizens have pointed fingers at over time. Their names are not there in that release by the American Congress. When you see the list that was released by the United Arab Emirates, and none of the names there has made this list, I would say that the American Congress should also look at that list, work in conjunction with the UAE, and be able to pick the names from there and give it to the United States Secretary of State to be able to also look at the possibility of declaring such persons as sponsors of terrorism. Terrorism is a crime against humanity, and there is no argument about that under international law, under domestic law, even under the law of God that we worship, the God that we worship, irrespective of the God that you worship. You know, terrorism is an act that is unacceptable. So it's not only the person that carries machete, it's not only the person, you know, that carries AK-47 or 8 or whatever and goes to decimate lives, but also the persons that are sponsoring. In law, these are accessories before the fact, accessories before the act of murder. And accessories are equally as guilty as the persons that have pulled the trigger. And I even think that the sponsors of terrorism are even more dangerous because they are the ones that provide the fuel that is used in recruiting more and more people into the act of terrorism. They are the ones that buy weapons and all of that. So that means that if the people do not have sponsors, they may not be able to carry out the kind of mayhem that they usually carry out against citizens of this country. And therefore, I agree with some segment of Nigerian citizens that, see, there is need to look at more names because, I mean, Kwankwaso, even I am surprised, but assuming that even has a case to answer, Kwankwaso cannot be the only person. There should be many other people, you know, on that list.
So there's a part of that document that spoke to more like the element where they talked about, and this is going to affect or, you know, touch the sensibilities of the Muslim community perhaps, where they talked about whether the government of Nigeria is taking appropriate steps rather to ease enforcement of and repeal blasphemy laws and to investigate instances of non-Muslims, Muslims and dissenters being subjected to Sharia law and blasphemy law. This is a very touchy issue because that argument keeps coming time and again. The issue of Deborah in Sokoto and the entire litigation process that even made certain people quite upset because what was presented as the brief or the relief was quite funny. In fact, I think that case was literally abandoned for, I think, what do they call it now? Lack of diligent prosecution or something of that nature. But where I'm going to with all of this, we can already see what the American government is saying. They are not comfortable with Sharia law in the Federation of Nigeria. But Nigeria is a sovereign country, perhaps permitted Sharia law to operate side by side with the Constitution of Nigeria. Even in Nigeria, that debate is on. Why are we having another set of law within Nigeria? And then the argument as to it's for Muslims, it's for family-related issue. How do you make of this mix?
Well, the law recognizes Sharia. The Nigerian legal system recognizes Sharia as customary law, okay, law that is applicable to the adherents of the Islamic faith. So it is part of the laws of the legal system of Nigeria. And even in the appointment of justices to the Court of Appeal and to the Supreme Court, the Constitution of Nigeria has made provision for the appointment of not less than 3 justices that are learned in Islamic law. and also customary law if you are appointing them from the south. So it is part of the legal system of Nigeria, just like it is also recognized in other countries of the world. But other countries of the world have been able to manage theirs very well and draw a distinction between what I believe personally and what should be secular, what the laws of the country says. Now, you remember way back, I think in 1999 or 2000, early 2000, Obasanjo had that serious fight, in quote, with the then governor of Zamfara State, Yerima. It wasn't Rabiu Kwankwaso that introduced Sharia in the north, that's introduced, implemented Sharia law in the north. I still remember it was Yerima that started it, and Obasanjo was at loggerheads with Yerima. He did everything to stop him. But I think at some point, he just had to allow it because the law recognizes the fact that you have the rights to freedom of worship and so on. But this is what I think Nigeria should do. Nigeria should be able to draw a distinction between what I believe personally and what should be secular. We're a country that religion should not be the reason why certain actions are taken. Religion should be personal. Now, like you rightly cited in that very documents currently before the Congress in the United States of America, they have mentioned the issue of people being killed because they have said something that adherents of the faith have seen to be unacceptable to the faith. And so people go out in defense of the creator and to the extent of even killing. And that report before the Congress is against that. It's saying that Nigeria should look at the blasphemy law. And I support that. Why do you kill? Because someone has made a statement that you feel is unacceptable. Why not punish the person in another way? Why not fine the person? Why not have laws that the person will be taken to prison for 1 month or 2 months or whatever, but not allowing anybody to be killed? Remember what happened in Sokoto to the schoolgirl when she was stoned? That was very barbaric in the 21st century. And Nigeria as a country shouldn't allow that to happen. And I totally agree with that proposal, with that inclusion in the document that is before the Congress, which I have read. That, see, Nigeria appears to be one of the few countries in the world where blasphemy would be the reason, why somebody should be stoned and stoned to death. In Christianity, where I worship, Christianity would not allow you to stone someone to death for calling Jesus Christ a name that is unacceptable. But I think that Christianity would rather tell you, no, you shouldn't say that about our Lord and Savior, and have other ways of correcting. And I think that other religions in the country should also follow the same thing, taking the template from Christianity, where people are not killed, people are not stoned to death, the people are given an opportunity to correct whatever misinformation you had said or you had given about the symbol of the faith. Religion is a sensitive matter, no doubt, and people should also respect other people's religions. But whenever it occurs, you remember what happened during this day. There was a time that someone was, he said something, it was declared, fatwa was declared against him or something. Religion is a sensitive matter. We must respect people's religion. But at the same time, we should be able to be tolerant enough not to kill because something unacceptable has been said about our religious beliefs.
Yeah, but it's important to also, capture into the conversation that the new Nigeria People's Party has reacted, to this particular development and has pushed back on the naming of its principal, Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, as one of those who should face sanctions for encouraging religious persecution. It has expressed shock at this allegation, and of course, we hope to hear more from the new Nigeria People's Party or from those who are close to the principal or the leader of the political party in Kano State, and indeed at the national level. But speaking of more names that may emerge, perhaps we're forgetting also that this has a background in 2025, where there were reports that 12 governors faced risk of U.S. sanctions following the designation of Nigeria as a particular concern, as a country of particular concern. And at that time, it was just one name that was named in the U.S. Congress, to have proposed this bill. Now there are about 5 names besides, I believe, Senator Chris Smith. But let's look at this issue of, religious persecution, or if you like, intolerance. The latest round of killings that we're hearing is from Woro in Kwara State, where reports are to the effect that the people refuse to accept a particular brand of Islam. Now, Mr. Odim, is the political elite aware, of the magnitude of the challenge that we have in terms of religious extremism, or is it playing the ostrich? What sense are you getting about this particular problem? Because this now goes beyond, a matter between Christians and Muslims, but there is a fundamental problem within a particular religion itself.
From my observation, the political elites in this country, they abandon the people after election. How many times do they go back to the places that they went for campaign after they have won? Very few times. So they seem to abandon the people immediately after election. They are done, they go to the tribunal has declared them victorious and all of that. And that's all they are concerned. They now stay at the city center, at the state level. They don't go back again to the primary schools, to the stadium, to wherever they had done their campaigns and all of that. And so, making the people orphans. So, I think that the political leaders of Nigeria should be as concerned with the people at all times as they had been during election, during campaign. We're about having election in 2027, and campaigns almost have started. You have seen people branding buses. You have seen people going to communities and all of that, going to local government areas and so on. That is because election is about coming. Election is about being held in 2027. Shortly after the election, the people get abandoned. And that's why the security challenges of the people most times, the leader is not aware. And the leader only gets aware after it has happened, as it's happened in Kwara State. But having said that, the right to freedom of religion is a constitutional right. And therefore, what I believe in, whether I choose to believe in the God of heaven or earth, or not to even believe in any God whatsoever, I just stay neutral. That's my right as a citizen of the country. And it's not just a local right, it's also a regional right, because the African Charter recognizes that right to freedom of religion and worship. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights also recognizes that. And therefore, what you need to do is just to persuade someone to join your own religion. If the person says no, it shouldn't be a death sentence. It is unacceptable, and it doesn't even paint Nigeria in good light that in the 21st century, people are still being forced in some communities to join a particular faith. And when they don't join, they are being killed. It's unacceptable. And I hope that the National Security Advisor should take this seriously, go all out for the persons that have committed these crimes. The persons that committed the crime in Kwara State, we've not heard of any arrest. We've not heard. I do not know if they have been arrested and are yet to be presented to citizens of Nigeria, or were yet to be told about it. We also need to be told about it because we heard that several persons have been killed. So I would call on the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to take this as a serious issue. Go after these persons that are forcing people to join their own faith. It's unacceptable. It's unconstitutional. It's not known to law. In fact, it's not even known. It's not acceptable even to nature. Allow someone to believe in what he chooses to believe in. That's what works for him. But to compel and now have death as the punishment for refusing to join is totally unacceptable. And you have seen that also reflecting in what has been presented before the Congress in America, which I have gone through. All of these have been, taken into consideration. And I think that Nigeria should not take it for granted. Nigeria should not take the right to freedom of religion as a right that can be infringed upon without consequences.
All right, so Mr. Keminde, let's segue from here to what Nigerians have been talking about. Since you are a lawyer, let's talk about the issue around the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which has been generating a lot of debate and concern as far as this 10th National Assembly is concerned. What's your general overview of what has played out between the Senate and the House of Reps and the expectations of Nigerians?
Well, let me give a bit of a background. I've done election petition in the last 3 general elections in Nigeria, 12 years. I've been counsel for the petitioner in some cases, and I've been counsel to the respondents in some cases. Most of the cases I represent the respondents. So I have an understanding of how things play out at the election petition tribunal. Now, immediately I heard the Senate bringing that proviso into the conversation, I lost hope. I just lost hope. I said, well, it's going to be difficult for us to have that free and fair election that we are expecting, in the country. Why? By the time you bring in the proviso, it is a proviso that is usually capitalized upon for the rigging. That proviso is like election rigging machine. And I thought that proviso was not going to be there. Remember what Obi took to the court. Remember what Atiku took to the court. They were saying that by the guidelines of INEC, this is what was supposed to apply. But they did not apply. And therefore, they were rigged out of the election. But what did the court say? The court said, no, there is no such provision in the Electoral Act. It's only the guidelines. So we had expected that. We have a provision in the Electoral Act that is very clear about transmission, because it is during transmission that the rigging is during collation that is the rigging is mostly done. And therefore, I had personally expected as a Nigerian citizen and as a lawyer that such proviso would not be part of that law. But for as long as that proviso is part of the law, well, we only take what we see. Right. I would tell Nigerian citizens not to be too optimistic about how free and fair that election is going to be. We take what we see, because that proviso is something that is going to assist some mischievous persons in doing the other way around, outside free and fair election.
All right, Mr. Keminde, we still have one more step, actually 2 more steps to go on this. The conference committees of both houses, or both chambers, will be meeting to harmonize that position. So they either take the position that I believe a generality of Nigerians want, and then the position of the Senate, which is the controversial end. The House of Reps, nobody really has qualms with it besides the word real time. But I must thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you for your expert views on the matters we've raised with you. Ekemi Udim is a legal practitioner joining us from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Thank you, sir.
Many thanks for having me.
We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, we'll head to Ebonyi State to talk about some controversial security boundary-related issues. Join us again in such a moment.
Welcome back. Now let's head to Ebonyi State. So the last has certainly not been heard about the killings of about 3 people in Oso Eda community following the boundary dispute between Amasiri clan and in Afikpo local government area and Oso Eda. Of course, recall that following the governor's visit to that community, he instructed the removal from office of all traditional rulers and all, in fact, members of cabinet from that community, and vowed that the killings, will be investigated and those found culpable will not go unpunished. But of course, the people of Amasiri community have also been speaking about this particular event, and accusing the governor of not implementing a certain white paper on the boundary dispute between that community and, of course, also Eda in Ebonyi State. So let's get a full perspective of what exactly is happening in a bid to representing all sides to this particular story. And joining us on the program this morning for some insights is the State Commissioner for Information in Ebonyi State, and he is right here joining us from Ebonyi State virtually, Barrister Ikiwa Omebe, Commissioner for Information and Strategy in Ebonyi State. Barrister Omebe, I hope I got your name correctly. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you. You pronounce as if you gave me the name.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so as we start off, we've been hearing another narrative to this developing story, and the people of Amasiri are laying claims to land in also. They say in actual fact that they have receipts of land ownership going back to colonial times. And in fact, there was a white paper that was supposed to have been implemented by the governor, and it is not this administration, that began mediation efforts between the warring communities. So help us understand why this white paper has not been implemented and what was agreed upon. Commissioner, can you hear me? All right, we'll try to get through to Commissioner Omebe yet again, such that we can have this conversation. But it's very important to get all sides to the story. I'll try this again. In the hope that you hear me. Is there, according to reports, a white paper on this that was supposed to serve as a reconciliation measure between the people of Amasiri and Osoeda, and what is contained in this white paper?
Well, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me now.
Loud and clear.
Okay. As we rightly described, it is dispute. All these problems arising here and there are product of a long-standing dispute, land dispute. And as you rightly observed, the previous administrations also have been taking steps. And what I want to say is that on assumption of office of this present administration, issues concerning security, protection of life and property of our people is really on the top of our priority as government. And we never joked with that. And one would expect, as they are saying, that if there is any white paper
oh dear, we hope we get...
that shows they should also have come forward with their position on that. Anybody taking laws into his hand.
Pardon me, Barrister, maybe. I think you should go back to the beginning of your point, or maybe halfway. You were making a vital point about whether or not there was a white, or there is a white paper. So help us understand, is there a white paper that the governor failed to implement to provide a solution to this dispute?
And that is the point I was telling you, that dispute resolution is a continuous exercise. It is a continuous exercise. Especially
it's a difficult one. We may have to wait until we have better network through to Commissioner Ikewu, or maybe in order to have a seamless and comprehensive conversation. But the petition that has been sent by the people of Amasri is noteworthy, and it's also important to get the side of the the state government, because the state government has been accused of being high-handed here, of sacking outright traditional rulers and cabinet members representing that community, and they feel that they haven't been granted a fair hearing, and that allegations against the people of Amasri that they're responsible for the killings should be proved before such actions should have been taken by the Ebonyi state government.
I must say, disturbing scenes coming out of Amasiri. And for a lot of the people staying there, it is reported that they're actually leaving now because of the expiration of the ultimatum given by the state government to produce what described as people who were beheaded, kidnapped, and the rest. Amasiri is an Afikpo local government area. I served in Ebonyi State, so I have a fair understanding. It's a bit faint, but a fair understanding of the area, the people, and themselves. We've had some of these disputes over land for quite some time now. And you understand that with the growing development, there are more people who are holding on to these age-long disputes, age-long quarrel. But sadly, it has led to bloodshed, and now people leaving their homes, lots of fear in the air. This is clearly not a recipe for development. So it's important for us to get to the heart of this matter, because for the people of Amasiri, they said that we're not responsible for these killings, or the reported killings as the case may be, or abductions, and they are standing their ground. Yes, the government had given the ultimatum. Yes, the ultimatum has expired. Now the people are afraid, but clearly the government believes that they are responsible, or at least wants to get to the heart of this. So we must find a middle ground, honestly, because I think Ebonyi State is largely a quiet state. If you know the state well, it's quiet. Yes, we've had these skirmishes, but ultimately people of Ebonyi just want to go about their lives peacefully. So we're going to try and reconnect with the commissioner. But Jeffrey, in 2026, these are the issues we're still dealing with.
It's quite unfortunate. Boundary issues are very sensitive issues. Boundary issues, even among states. I think there's even the issue of the oil wells, 76 oil wells between Akwa Ibom and Cross River State. It's still an issue today. There's the issue of Bakassi that comes up time and again, because this has to do with people's ancestral homes. There's a reason why that term was coined, ancestral. It's more like your ancestry's umbilical cords were buried there. And in African culture, except otherwise, when people pass on, they take you there to go bury you. And then if you're now blessed with some natural resources, so whether you have anything or not, the sense of that home that you have is quite important. But when there are disagreements that people now resort to killing, that's another thing altogether, and it's totally unacceptable. Yes, the government, that's why we had to invite the government to come and say, these people are saying what you're accusing us of and the things you say we perpetrated, we did not do it. As a matter of fact, let's even accept without conceding from the statement I read, the law presumes that we're innocent until proven guilty. So why are you coming at us hard as this? Which is why I wanted to hear the side of the government on this. Seke, what exactly is the side of the government that is making government take the kind of action it is taking? Because Amasri people are apparently calling on the president and the federal authority for intervention because they don't feel protected by the state government. Their position may be right, it may be wrong, so we need to hear all sides. Honorable Commissioner, I understand you're back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We hope the network will allow you to speak for at least the next 2-3 minutes. But go ahead on your trail of thoughts before the network distorted the conversation.
Yes, sir. As I was saying already, that assuming without conceding that there is a white paper on this issue from the previous administration, the present administration too has been taking a series of measures to ensure that there is peace, absolute peace and tranquility within the nooks and crannies of the state. And we don't take issues that border on the life of the people and their property for granted. And waking up to see what happened at Okporojo, waking up to see what happened within that axis of the state. It became so difficult for anybody to really tolerate such situation. It was a serious carnage. It was a serious demonstration of man's inhumanity to man. It was not only bad, it is repugnant to natural justice.
Well, I think at this point we'll have to reschedule this conversation.
Just be sleeping, all are beheaded. Properties that we are talking.
Well, it is noteworthy that the commissioner hasn't acknowledged there's. Okay, go ahead. Let's attempt this again. Mr. Omebe, go ahead, please.
Apparently
the network is certainly disallowing us. But I was going to say, Jeffrey, that it is noteworthy that the commissioner has not acknowledged that there's any document that has been brokered as a mediation to the dispute between Amasiri and Oso in Ebonyi State. We would like to see from the representatives and spokespersons of Amasiri community this white paper, because according to them, the governor instructed that all litigations be withdrawn, and then there would be, a solution. There would be, a panel that would broker, reconciliation between both parties. So the different narratives make it difficult to understand what exactly is happening. Who's presenting a favorable side to their own story to make them look good? I think that is at the heart of this conversation, because they're also saying that if you checked the trajectory of the dispute between Oso and Amasiri people have lodged several cases with the state police commands in Ebonyi State, alleging intimidation themselves, and that they are not the aggressor. So if there are people perpetrating these heinous acts in these local governments, who are they, and why has it been difficult over the years to bring them to book?
At the end of the day, we'll get to the heart of this, because as soon as property is destroyed, lives are lost, then the government has to do something as quickly as possible. We must thank the Honorable Commissioner. We hope we can get you back sometime pretty soon and get all sides so that we can have a conversation. But guys, before we start wrapping up, let's take a look at what the people have been talking about on social media. I think, was it yesterday? Reno Mokri, ambassador designate, had a conversation with our colleague Shehu, and he did tell Shehu in one of the podcasts that it's not going to work with the president if he's offered the opportunity. Well, Shehu asked him yesterday, what happened? Now you've taken the job. But let's take a listen to the back and forth, and I'll come back to it. I thought we could get that video because, I was just laughing yesterday. When I was watching that engagement with our dear brother Reno Mokri, there's nothing wrong in saying you were wrong. For me, he was just gaslighting himself with the greatest sense of respect. Reno is somebody who is very intelligent. I think you can't take that away from him. But sometimes, I don't know, inconsistency in certain things. So he clearly did say that it's not going to work. It's not in his DNA, and it's very... Let's take a listen. I understand we have it now.
I told you, you asked me a question that if Tinubu asks me to work with him, I said that I will not. And I said that the word I used was that it is not in my DNA. Right? That's what I said.
Has your DNA changed?
No, my DNA has not changed.
But you are eating your words, right?
No, I'm not eating my words.
Okay.
When I met with administration officials, and then, look, I can't say everything that was said. I explained to them, I said, this is what I'd said. I cannot take certain positions because I'd said that I cannot work for this, because of certain things, particularly because of the things that I said. However, I never said that I cannot work for Nigeria. As an ambassador, I am working for Nigeria. I'm going to be an ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So this appointment is an exception of your philosophy.
Very clearly.
So if you were giving a ministerial appointment, you wouldn't have taken it.
You know what?
Or a special
Let me ask you a question. Do you even know? I cannot say everything. So, look, I've just said this here. When I had discussions I said, look, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I cannot do this because of what I had said and because of the positions I've held. However, I can do this because then I will be working for Nigeria. But even at that, my position on President Bola Tinubu has changed. I believe he is the best thing for Nigeria. Why?
You know, my brother Moreno, there is something called just being consistent. There's no, what are you saying, Reno?
Your expression is iconic, by the way. Pardon me, Jeffrey.
What are you saying? Look, as I said, Reno is a very brilliant guy. What are you saying? Okay, just like he led a protest in London, had several TV interviews, brought out document, said, I am very sure what I'm saying, that the president is a drug lord. That's then a candidate. Later, he came out and said, I was wrong after the court has decided. There is nothing, when Shenwad asks you, you say you won't work with him. Well, things change. Unfortunately, a few things happened. And I can tell you that I was hasty in what I said. What do you mean you're working for Nigeria, Mr. Reno? Who appointed you to work for Nigeria? The president will invite you to his table or whoever is sent, and then you will be nominated by the president to the Senate, who will confirm you. The president, at his pleasure, will now send you to where he wants you to serve. Come on, man. What is going on here? What are you saying?
You know, it's almost like saying that, hey, guys, we work for Channels Television. We don't work for Dr. John Momo.
Yeah. It's like saying, I'm working for Channels TV. I don't work for Dr. John and Shola Momo. What does that even mean in English?
Oh dear. You know, it's okay. I think we should start learning to say, you know what? You know, then I made those statements.
I made those statements. I was hasty.
I've had to rethink. And I am choosing this new position. Come on, you're human, right? It's okay to admit. But in any case, it's also a lesson. Watch what you say today, because tomorrow, not just the internet doesn't forget, the people will not forget. In the age of AI now, in fact, there's something like memory loss again. That is just my piece of advice to people. Watch what you say today. Never say never. And when you are caught red-handed, please admit. And say I'm sorry.
Say you're sorry.
I've changed my position.
Sorry doesn't diminish you. It doesn't make you less. It just shows that you need to calm down sometimes when you talk. Bukola, why are you laughing?
Well, I have just one line. I have just one line. Recanting is part of our political culture. And we could mention quite a number of names, not just Reno or Mokri.
Yeah.
So let's end it there.
There are so many people. You almost tempted me to. One name almost flew out of my mouth. But you're not going to get me today. But guys, thank you so much, everyone who has been part of the conversation. Thank you. We do not appreciate the fact that you stay with us every morning.
We actually do appreciate it. We do not take it for granted.
Oh, we do not take it for granted. What am I saying? Okay, that one I was wrong. Second, sorry, I didn't know it came out from my mouth. I wanted to say we do not take it for granted. My apologies. We do not take it for granted that you could join us every day. We do really appreciate you joining us every morning. And do well to join Sunrise Daily. It's at the top of the hour, 9 a.m. With the team right there. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
We'll be back with a home stretch tomorrow. Thank you for being there. I am Bukola Koka.
Again, watch what you say. Have a great day. I'm Kayode Okike. Goodbye.